Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. It is about 4:51 p.m. Eastern Time as I put this together, and we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. This is a satellite animation of Olivia, tropical storm, and you can see it is degrading very quickly, losing the deep convection, and the magic shield that protects Hawaii still seems to be in effect. That is not to say that there won't be heavy rain across this region. There still certainly could be, but this is certainly a good thing to see, and it won't be too much of a problem other than the potential for a surprise. I won't say surprise as if it wasn't forecast, but if you see this and it still rains real heavy in a couple places and causes some flooding, don't be surprised, put it that way. I know that sounds confusing, but at least we see this. I'm just saying it can still dump some heavy rain. You just never know. All right? Especially with that upslope flow that can happen in the region where the wind comes up over these mountains on the windward side, wrings out the moisture, and you get some very heavy rain. Tropical storm warnings, of course, still in effect for a good deal of the region. Olivia will move on through and eventually dissipate, and that will be that. Looking at the radar animation, a few showers moving into the central islands, and nothing heavy. That's great. We don't see any of those dark, heavy bands with the high decibel readings like we see on the right-hand side here, the chart, the color code. None of that, so just some light to moderate rain at best, maybe a briskness in the trades, so to speak, a little change in wind direction. All in all, this is looking pretty good for Hawaii. As for the rest of the area, well, in the Atlantic Basin, it's hard to believe that it's this busy, but it is. Invest 95L may become a tropical storm and head towards portions of the Texas coast, crossing the Gulf here, so please pay attention to that very closely. Of course, we do have Isaac down here, still a tropical storm, moving generally west at 17 miles per hour, so it's pretty brisk there. This system, look at that. I mean, we're just getting to the realm of ridiculousness. It's not going to go this way. It's heading southwest. And it actually may end up over here sometime in the next week or so, believe it or not. And then, of course, Helene, not even going to talk about it anymore. Florence, though, the big headline maker, obviously, and the updated map from the National Hurricane Center. Now we have a hurricane warning in effect from the North Carolina-Virginia border, roughly. I'll have to look and see. We'll read it in the discussion. It looks a little shy of there. Maybe it's Currituck. And then down here, it looks like just near Georgetown or north of Charleston. We'll read the public advisory together in just a minute, and we'll dissect it and figure out what's what. Look at the large wind field associated with Florence. That's your tropical storm force wind. The brown is the hurricane force wind field. All of this is moving in this direction, and time is running out for people to prepare. It is a Category 4 and is moving west-northwest at 17. It's getting better organized, as we can see here in this satellite animation. Oh, that's Isaac. Sorry, I jumped the gun. This satellite animation, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits, becoming more rounded in its structure overall, a very well-defined eye, and so we have to watch and see how this progresses over the next several hours through a couple of days, because it could still reach Category 5. You never know. The wind field is expanding with it. It's a real big problem. So let's go back here and look at the public advisory for Florence. All right. A storm surge warning, let's just read this here, has been issued from South Santee River, South Carolina to Duck, North Carolina. I was close, the Currituck area. So that's what we were looking at, the hurricane warning and the storm surge warning on that map I was showing you. So Santee River, South Carolina to Duck, North Carolina, including the Albemarle and Pamlico Sounds, and including the Neuse and Pamlico Rivers. So we're talking New Bern, Washington, Belhaven, you name it, all right, Edenton. Big problems here. Tropical Storm Watch has been issued from north of the North Carolina-Virginia border to Cape Charles Light, Virginia, and for the Chesapeake Bay south of Newport Comfort. Looking at the hazards affecting land, this is what I want to look at here. Let's see. Cape Fear to Cape Lookout, including the Neuse and Pamlico rivers, a surge of 9 to 13 feet. This is starting to come up now. North Myrtle Beach to Cape Fear, 6 to 9. And folks, this is above ground level, not just the surge superimposed on the tide. They're expecting that if it coincides with high tide, you would have 6 to 9 feet of surge, flooding, inundation from North Myrtle Beach to Cape Fear. Also, Cape Lookout to Ocracoke Inlet. Ocracoke Inlet to the North Carolina-Virginia border, 4 to 6 feet. I am in Rodanthe right now, and I just set up one of the cameras. It's going to be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see, and I'm going to talk about that at the end here. So really pay attention to this. Read the public advisory yourself, please, and heed this information. Rainfall, unbelievable amounts of rain. Now they're talking about possibly 35 inches. Okay? The epic nature of what's going to happen, possibly, high probability. It's not assured. Nothing's 100% except you know what. This is going to be a devastating event for the Carolinas, one way or the other. If it comes up to the coast and stalls, it's going to just pound the region, and then it's going to dump all that rain. A huge, huge problem. So please read the advisory yourself. I could sit here and read it all day. I'll try to interpret things for you and point out what I think is the most important, but definitely read this yourself if you get a chance. The discussion from forecaster Stacy Stewart here. Another excellent forecaster. They all are. I've known Stacy since 1999 as well. Just a wonderful forecaster, and boy, the writing that this man does is just epic. Unfortunately, it means bad things usually when these things intersect land. All right, so the first paragraph, microwave satellite data indicate that Florence completed a full eyewall replacement cycle a few hours ago. Basically, that means it's getting itself organized again. And visible and infrared imagery suggests that the eye has contracted slightly. Outflow continues to expand in all quadrants, and the outflow jets to the northwest and east have become better defined. So basically, he's talking about in the first paragraph, the structure of Florence is much improved throughout the day. The initial motion estimate is now 300 degrees at 15 knots. There remains no significant, he didn't put the right word, I guess, change. You see, right here, no significant to, it's okay. Even the geniuses can make mistakes. No significant, we'll say, changes to the previous track, forecast, or reasoning. Overall, the global and regional models have done a good job capturing the evolving synoptic scale, flow pattern across the CONUS, whatever, the lower 48, with an amplifying trough moving onshore in the northwestern U.S. coast, which is inducing downstream ridging, and people are just blowing up my phone. Where did it go? I lost my spot here. Downstream ridging across the northeastern U.S. So basically, this is very technical. What he is saying, the models are making a pretty significant shift to the west from where they were north and east, and some of them are making a shift to the east where they were west. So essentially then, right here, the European is unchanged through 72 hours. All right, so it's holding steady. So as a result, the bottom line here, the consensus models have made only minor track shifts to the west. What is noticeable is that all of the global and regional models are indicating that the steering currents will collapse by 3 days when Florence is approaching the southeast U.S. coast. And that's, of course, a giant problem, and that could lead to a tremendous amount of flooding. All right, in the next paragraph right here, during the next 24 hours or so, Florence is expected to remain in a very favorable environment, low shear, very warm water, additional strengthening anticipated. By 48 hours, the decreasing forward speed, along with the large inner core wind field, should induce some upwelling where it mixes the ocean and brings up cooler water and gradual weakening. Although the GFS and ECMWF based in ships-based intensity models are indicating an increase in the southwesterly shear to near 20 knots, this could be due to the ship's model capturing Florence's own strong outflow. That's not good. Despite the weakening shown at 72 hours, and when I ever laugh like that, it's just out of throwing my hands in the air. I really want you to understand that. It's not laughing as in humor. it's like, more badness. Basically, the model's not handling the hurricane itself. In some instances, it's that powerful. Despite the weakening shown at 72 hours, Florence is still expected to remain a dangerous hurricane through landfall. After Florence moves inland, the slow forward speed of less than 5 knots should cause a rapid spin down and weakening of its circulation. But, of course, tremendous rain. The new NHC intensity forecast is a little above the highest guidance based on the aforementioned very favorable synoptic outflow pattern and to maintain continuity with the previous forecast. So, life-threatening surge, life-threatening catastrophic flash flooding. You don't see that word thrown around very much, folks. Harvey comes to mind, okay? Catastrophic. North Carolina, we have elevation, we have sand hills. All right? Fayetteville, into parts of South Carolina, there's some elevation. Even the fact that, Raleigh, you never know. Chapel Hill, Fayetteville, I don't know. I mean, this is going to be such a problem. And then, of course, the rivers rising, damaging hurricane force winds goes without saying, and it's just time to stay out of the water. And I see that Mr. Stewart brings it back to near Category 5 as it approaches 30 north and 72 west. Just lovely. Fantastic. I swear. This is some of what the model guidance looked like. These are the different hurricane models, some of the regional models. Not as tightly clustered as you can see. Overall, a fairly wide envelope, and they're kind of going down the middle with a landfall or whatever you want to call it. And that's what it shows on the map. Near the Cape Fear region, maybe just north of there. And we'll examine that one more time. Maybe, if everything will pull up. It looks like it's bogging down. Wonderful. Now the hits to the website at the Hurricane Center are increasing, and it's going to be more and more difficult to get the maps. Awesome. Gosh, it just gets stressful, folks. There's no getting around it. So yeah, all of the discussion, bad stuff happening, coming up in this region. You got tomorrow, some on Thursday, and then that's pretty much it. As far as what I'm doing, I set up a camera up here in the Rodanthe area. If you have our app for iPhone, the camera is feeding into that. I wish that it would work on Android, but it doesn't. I can't get it to. I'm sorry. It's not even available on the Play Store. I mean, I'm not going to sell something that doesn't work. And any of our Patreon supporters that have signed up for the appropriate level, and you say, well, Mark, it's not fair. Why are you doing this? Well, this is my business, and I have to be able to earn a living. And I provide an incredible experience and service, if you will, and I think that what I ask for is reasonable. That being said, it will also be available, these feeds, on the Weather Channel. And more people get the Weather Channel, one way or the other, than are going to buy my app, obviously, or I would be a millionaire. And then I could fund whatever I want, and I could get an Android app that works. And it does, it feeds itself. So I will be, of course, tweeting and posting data from when we set up the weather stations. I'll make sure you get to access that with screenshots, etc. I hate having to have a paywall, but if I don't, I can't afford to do this, and people will just take advantage of it. You know how they are. They want everything for free, and so I make no apologies because I am doing a public service with 90% of what I do. So I stand behind that. So if you've got our app, check it out. Camera 1 is up, and if you're on Patreon, of course, and are members of HurricaneTrack Insider, you can check it out there. I will post some screenshots from time to time. I'm not just going to hide everything, but you got to give me a break here and let me earn my living, because when there's no hurricanes, I'm the invisible man. That's how it works. All right, so I'm going to finish up here in Rodanthe and figure out where to go next, what to do next. I'm thinking obviously South Carolina, North Carolina area, obviously. Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, Carolina Beach, New Bern, down east North Carolina. I have 5 cameras left to put up and 2 weather stations. I'll be working on all of that over the next 48 hours. So that's it. I am finished. I'm going to pack up and get out of here, get back home to Wilmington, and go from there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support, your overwhelming support. 99.9% of the comments and everything people say is positive. and that's worth all the money in the world right there, to be quite honest with you. I appreciate it. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. I'll post another video blog and more information in depth starting early tomorrow morning.